I think we can start. So welcome everyone. I would like to give the floor to Professor Denisarianis to welcome you all to the workshop.
Thank you very much for giving me. Thanks to everybody who's wanted to invest your time for this workshop. The idea is to actually maybe we have one more slide on the aims of the meeting for the new. Yep, but then move on. So the aims of the meeting, the real aims of the meeting is to, on the one hand, introduce to you the actual toolbox of PARC on SSbD. This is an effort that is designed to support the implementation of the SSbD framework as it was coined by the JRC, and eventually update based on further developments in the area. So we will talk to you about the main concept, the progress we've done so far, the future steps. Show to you the live demonstration of the alpha version of the PARC SSbD toolbox, and update you on the updates and the features and functionalities that we have incorporated since the last time we had a workshop on the toolbox, which was version 0.1 a few months ago, and also to sort of put the basis for the stakeholder engagement process with invitation on the one hand to provide feedback from stakeholders, to test the toolbox through case studies that you will think are important, and also to sort of identify what other types of synergies we can achieve, because this is not supposed to be yet another tool. It's supposed to be a toolbox, indeed, acting as an umbrella that actually supports the community of SSbD and its implementation, industries, non-industrial stakeholders, academics, and of course, regulators. I'd like to highlight that the PARC is a public-public partnership, so we are not really, we don't have in the consortium private sector, but we do collaborate with private sector, especially looking at the needs, functionalities required, what tools are being developed, and eventually update the array of tools that this toolbox is going to be making available. So that's essentially why we thought of launching this version with a workshop, explaining to you what it is about, and also giving enough time for you to see, and also to discuss about what your needs are and how we can actually address. All right. In terms of, maybe we can move to the next slide for the new. Yeah. So as I said, we're going to be talking about the concept, the progress we've done, seeing the actual toolbox, the toolbox as an umbrella of a whole hoard of tools currently available and also under development, and also the possibilities for synergies. Because this will have to be a community resource that we can all use, and that would allow us to actually benefit and promote the SSbD concept in sustainable industrial innovation in Europe. So that to us is the real overall objective. Of course, within the current regulatory framework, that includes also the revision of the REACH regulation. So there are aspects of that, for instance, substitution, that will be very relevant for what we're discussing here. Then let's look at what it is, what we're talking about, the toolbox concept as such, and the vision that we had since the beginning. So you all know, of course, the five-step process framework, let's say, of that the JRC coined on behalf of the Commission on providing an assessment for SSbD, and that includes, of course, safety concerns, issues that have to do with process safety and occupational safety. It includes issues from, let's say, direct exposure from the use phase of the product or the chemical, and also the sustainability assessment in terms of life cycle assessments of the environmental sustainability, but also the social and economic sustainability assessment. Uh, so this is essentially the framework. This is as you see, I will put it here like a vertical process. So you have step 1 to 5, but then you have to actually integrate this into this horizontal process that is what you see in the bottom, the stage gate model for the innovation process of actually industrial innovation, where you start with an idea, you end up with a product in the market, but in the meantime, you have a number of steps within the company to actually proceed with the development. And that is where SSBD can be really useful. So to integrate that, we thought of seeing, what PARC can do, and that is not just the people that you see here and the people working in task 8.1 of PARC, which is focusing on SSBD and this toolbox, but all of PARC. So you see here a number of a number of aspects, including safety by design and sustainability by design, different tools and methodologies, which actually are in different ways being developed in the context of PARC in different work packages. So one of our goals is to bring in the knowledge and the tools that are being developed in PARC, and also brought in to PARC from other projects like the ASPIS. When we're talking about new approach methodologies, there's the ASPIS cluster of EU projects that is developing a number of new approach methodologies and tools, and these tools are brought into the PARC work that is working on integrated risk assessment. But that means that we then can bring this also into PARC through this work of in these other work packets 5 and 6 in PARC. So the idea is to actually allow, really benefit from the totality and the comprehensiveness of the approaches considered by PARC, and enhance them with additional work on LCA and the cycle impact assessment, on circularity aspects, on issues that have to do with process safety and green engineering, so as to really create a much more powerful toolbox, and also, of course, enhance with the social and economic sustainability assessments, which are currently not covered explicitly by PARC as such, although economic and sustainability is covered in a number of aspects. So that, of course, leads to different operational realizations, including, as you see, different types of tools covering material flow analysis, exposure issues, hazard assessment, combination, so as to come up with the risk assessment, and eventually, and of course, also looking at process analysis and process safety, life cycle and eco-design, circularity aspects, in order to just mention a few. So that is a little bit the kind of thinking that we have, that this has to be a much more comprehensive approach that does not compete with the other initiatives on SSBD, but actually that's as a as an umbrella, as I said before, that can catalyze synergies and collaboration, and also not just catalyze and sort of allow for people to talk to each other, but also reduce the problems, the usual thresholds for creating organic collaboration between different tools. So the idea for us is to create flowchart, workflow pipelines that can help the user to implement SSBD, that of course take into account the best available tools from PARC and from outside PARC. That's essentially the idea. Providing, of course, the right recognition of the work that different people have done to create these tools. So this includes issues covering functionality assessment. So this is actually a collection of tools, as I said, a living collection, a live collection, because we actually update it really very regularly, very fast. What you will see today available is much larger than what it was there in December, for instance. So this is a rapidly ongoing process. But that's not just a collection. It is actually a platform that provides the data, the methods, and the tools to implement the SSBD framework, and actually creates the functional tool links and the workflows through pipelines that can allow users to implement the SSBD framework and implement SSBD analysis. This can be done as we designed it in the beginning as a completely manual process where the user is an expert user and knows what to do and wants to have complete control of the process. So that's the manual way functionality. There's a hybrid process where the user maintains complete control, but can be assisted by automatic pipeline modules in the toolbox online, and the fully automated process where the toolbox actually understands what the user needs to obtain in terms by way of analysis, produces a suggested pipeline, and then implements that pipeline. And that is the fully automated version, eventually using also AI tools to implement that. This is supported also, of course, by decision support systems, because it's not just about doing the analysis, it's about understanding what the issues are and where we need, each user wants to put more weight, for instance, on a number of aspects, and integrating all the different functionalities. So we have implemented this tool, this concept of the SSbD wizard. It's an online aid that allows the user to really implement this workflow pipeline. And also we started working on multi-criteria decision analysis tools and pipelines to organically implement MCDA analysis into the SSbD workflow pipeline, which I think would be a very useful tool. We'll see. This is an ongoing process, and Fotinik will explain much more in detail of what this is about so far. The applicability of the toolbox is supposed to be addressing both newly developed de novo and existing substances. We currently focus on chemicals, and the idea is, of course, to also cover materials, and this will be a future focus of the toolbox. And of course, we are already in contact with a number of industrial sectors to cover different sector types and value chains throughout, so that we can be sure that this is really applicable across the industrial landscape. Again, the idea is to support sustainable industrial innovation in Europe. I think this is very, very important, and can be really a very important hub of this community to help in promoting this objective. So the community I'm talking about is, of course, different industry. It is academia and researchers, but of course also risk assessors and eventually regulators. The idea is to not only create a toolbox that people can use, but also that people can learn from each other and incorporate key findings and methods of other SSbD projects. So it's not going to be just a concrete, a standalone process and tool. Another key pillar of the development of the toolbox, of course, has to do with data and the links with different types of databases for safety and sustainability assessments. We all know that in particular LCA is based on the quality of the data behind the LCA impact assessment analysis, and but of course the same thing holds for the safety assessment, especially now that the number of chemicals have been registered in REACH, and so quite a bit of information is there, but still there's a lot of gaps. So the idea is to be able to on the first level link the different types of data sets and databases, address the data gaps, identify and address the data gaps and the bottlenecks in the data processing flow. Here, AI can be of particular use for data generation and also for filling data gaps. We have evidence from a number of projects that this actually really works. So we wanted to ensure that this toolbox will not avoid having this kind of capability. It of course has to be done according to the FAIR principles and in terms of use of data, and also ensuring complete confidentiality. Here we're really working on different approaches from blockchain technologies all the way down to federated analytics and even federated learning when it comes to AI. So the idea is to ensure that users can reliably, in complete trust, use the system, use the capabilities, get the results they want, but not necessarily, but not give access to their data if they don't want to, which is, I think, a very significant objective. So that can be done, as I said, either through the blockchain mode or with having the system go check the data, run the analysis, and come back to your results, but without ever transferring data from one actor in the system to another or to the toolbox itself. Then, of course, this has to be accompanied by appropriate guidance, and for this, the SSbD wizard is designed. So the idea is to have this user guidance throughout the assessment process, considering the different needs of the various innovation stages. Because again, what you need by way of assessment during the early innovation is not the same as to what you need in an intermediate stage or the final stage of the innovation process, where you have much more data, but you want to have much more robust and secure analysis. And of course, we want to also provide methodological guidance because we are building the toolbox to implement the JRC framework. But of course, this is a framework, but the methodological implementation, the operationalization of this can undergo, and it does undergo, updates, and we need to ensure that this guidance is actually, first of all, capturing, but also contributing to these updates. So we're not just blindly implementing, we're also, through the process of developing the toolbox and applying it in case studies, contributing to the overall methodological update of SSbD. And when I say we, it's the big team of WP 8.1, so task 8.1 in PARC, not just the few people you're going to see today. So the overall goal is to, of course, have the user guidance available, and that's a first step because otherwise you lose the user. To integrate and include in the methodological guidance recommendations, warnings, but also instructions into the different elements of the toolbox. To automate processes that need to be automated or could be automated, but provided automated pipelines and workflows, and thus facilitate people who are not really experts, but will definitely need to run SSbD or want to run SSbD to innovate in a sustainable manner. And of course, to do that following a seamless integration paradigm, to seamlessly integrate tools and data and enhance, in this sense, the user experience with an interactive and eventually dynamic interface. Dynamic in the sense of allowing the interface to change what the options are on the basis of its own understanding of what the user needs. And I think that's a very useful tool, a way of approaching it to ensure widespread uptake of the the next. So we're looking at the timeline of what we did in order to develop the toolbox. We started, as I said here, in May 2022 by identifying and screening collections of tools. We actually moved to the conceptual design of the toolbox in May 2023, identified the input and output relationships and the mapping of tools along the innovation stages up to October, and then moved on to the first computational design of the toolbox in November 2023. And it's launched, let's say, with integration of tools and having the first version of the wizard and the scoring tool in what we call the version 0.1, because it was not the alpha version of Toolbox. That was done in the period December 2023 to April 24, and so about a year from now. And we sort of then use the time all the way down to October to test the toolbox and get feedback from from you, from stakeholders, and include additional tools and enhance and implement computational revisions to get to this last, let's say, 6 months, to project module development, computational additions in different steps, to update the wizard, to actually start building a library of new approach methodologies and techniques that users can actually use already, and to start the methodological development and the functional integration of these tools into what you see now, the alpha version or version 1.0 of the toolbox that we're launching today. As I said, the toolbox is not a competitive tool competing with the others, either new or pre-existing. It's built and designed to be an umbrella to actually bring together existing and under development toolkits and tools, and also knowledge sources under one roof, and provide essentially a one-stop resource for this community, consolidating models, databases, assessment instruments that users need to apply the SSbD framework and make this operational. The toolbox as such is, of course, an integrator, because you can imagine if you bring all these things together, you need to be able to functionally integrate them. But it is also an innovator because it allows people to bring in new tools and actually through the functional interlinkages between the current tools, showcase where needs are, what gaps are, and how they can be filled. So actually, we see this process not just as a passive receiver of work done elsewhere, because it would be unfair also, but also as an active innovating element in this whole process in this community. So it's supposed to be a shared resource, both as a guide and a toolkit for stakeholders across the research domain, the regulatory domain, and risk assessment, and of course, sustainable industrial innovation. I would underline and put in bold the innovation part, because it is about not just doing the assessment, also allowing people to easily test and explore innovative solutions to their industrial development problems. And I think this is really where the win-win case will be for SSbD, when we can demonstrate that to the industrial community that this is an actual quote-unquote money maker, a wealth development tool, not just a safeguard of safety and sustainability. And in this sense, I wanted to highlight that we're not talking about safeguarding safety and sustainability. We're talking about enhancing, integrating safety and sustainability in the innovation process. Have safety and sustainability be attributes of innovation. Okay, and I think this is what this is how we're trying to design this toolbox to actually ensure that it can really be functional. The wizard will be a central piece, of course, and it will guide the user to different components of the toolbox that include, as I said, already existing tools that are being developed under PARC, and also tools that are being developed by other SSbD initiatives. Okay, so the next steps in our development have to do with a number of things that you see. Our plate is quite full, but I'll just highlight very briefly what we're thinking of doing. And of course, we're being very transparent about this, because we want to and we cherish your feedback also on what the next steps would be. So ideally, we would like to have the community, all of us together, develop this tool. We have the resources in PARC to do it, but we want to ensure that this is really happening with everybody on board. So one thing is to integrate models and develop a methodology for applying an operational methodology for applying social and economic sustainability assessment, step 5 of the JRC framework. This is an ongoing process that is being developed and tested right now outside the toolbox, but eventually we will actually incorporate this in the next stage of development. To continue the development of the multi-criteria decision analysis framework for integrated safety and sustainability assessment, that's an ongoing process. And again, Fatani will tell you a bit more about that. And you'll see the first, let's say, preliminary software incarnation of this process, but this is going to be very fast updated further. So we need extra work also to make it fully operational. We will proceed with the functionalization of the link between the toolbox and chemical risk assessment models and databases. In PARC, we are developing a chemical risk assessment network, and which actually pulls together, the creme de la creme of risk assessment modeling in Europe. So for chemicals, so of course we will ensure that there will be a functional link with this, so that we can that the users can make sure that they use all the firepower that's available today to be able to do a comprehensive safety assessment. This brings us to NAMs and how we can actually use and assimilate NAM data, new approach methodology data, which do not really fall within the current regulatory framework and the technical annex of REACH and stuff, because they had been written much earlier. But these tools and methods and even models like in silico tools need to be fully integrated and assimilated in the toolbox. And this is we have done a task force for this internally, and we are moving very fast, I would say even aggressively, towards implementing that. I think this is important because we feel, and I think the Commission also feels, that the NAMs, that the SSbD is a real driver for development of NAMs, because, of course, we're in a pre-regulatory phase. So in the SSbD framework, so you don't have to have all the let's say austerity and no austerity, all the rigidity of a regulatory validation process for the NAM data to be used. They have to be correct, but they have to provide the information in time to the innovator to ensure that the decision making within the company goes the right way. We also want to enhance the ability of the tool to facilitate and even accelerate the redesign process with including modeling tools to help with that. That's a very, very important element also, because we echo here what we have heard from the industrial community. And in this sense, we're also looking at integrating AI into the SSbD wizard workflow to, as I said before, address also the more automated parts of this system. Again, in the quest to make users gain easy access to all the different tools and pipelines in an explainable mode, so that people can really have control of what's happening, but not necessarily needing to be the topmost expert to getting them to run. So we would allow then AI to actually act as this expert, gaining information from what's happening in this development phase. I mentioned before the quest to ensure data exchange, secure data exchange if needed, and confidentiality. And even when I say secure data exchange, even by not exchanging data, but by actually allowing the system to go into your data repository, analyze your data, eventually use other databases to complement this analysis, and then come back to you with your results, so that your data would never leave your repository. Or if we cannot do that, then eventually, if something is going to be transferred, then this has to be done under complete security conditions and confidentiality. And again, here we're looking at the blockchain implementation for that, or other solutions that again we can update with. What's important for us is to receive feedback from potential users, and that's part of this process is this launching workshop. And of course, the development of an enhancement of the SSbD wizard is related to this, because it will help in enhancing the development of the model pipelines, which is an ongoing process. to carry out additional case studies and test the functionality of the toolbox, and also eventually to ensure continued interaction with the stakeholders to get concrete and actionable input. I would like to underline the word actionable here because we're not in a theoretical discussion phase. We're in a phase where we're implementing the theory, and we're at the same time, through the testing and the use cases, enhancing the theory and enhancing the toolbox at the same time. So in a completely concurrent engineering kind of paradigm, but I believe in this case, stakeholder feedback and input is fundamental. So I'm sure we will fail in achieving our objectives if we don't have you next to us hand in hand. So really, it's very important to get your feedback. And with this, I think I'd like to close without, of course, forgetting to mention the partners. Here you see the names of the key people and the key partners involved. This is a pretty large team with, as you see, many institutions across Europe, as the PARC paradigm ensures. But that also ensures that there's a lot of stakeholders, especially, let's say, public sector stakeholders, who have subscribed to this effort. And so we can be sure that there is a lot of relevant, support from our member states, which again I think is very crucial for bringing this to a successful end. So with this, maybe we can move to the introduction of this alpha version that I talked too much about. Sorry for the lengthy introduction, but I think it was useful to show you what we're thinking about it, not just what we have developed. Denise.
Yes, thank you very much. First, we'll have a very short introduction to a new element of the PARC SSbD activities, which is the knowledge sharing portal. So Emma Viven from IRVN will give us a very brief introduction. Please, Emma, I will give you the floor now.
Yes, thank you. I don't have the opportunity to share right now in Teams. I think it's not working.
Okay, maybe I can share my screen. Wait a minute. Maybe, Emma, until I will share my screen, you can share the link to the knowledge sharing portal to the chat.
To the portal, or you mean my slides?
To the portal. I'm having your slides.
Okay, I will share the link to the portal.
Emma, you may share your screen now if you wish. It's been enabled.
Yes, thank you. I see it. I will share my screen now. So hopefully everyone can now see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone. I will give you a short introduction into the PARC SSbD knowledge sharing portal. And it was just launched last week. So the knowledge sharing portal is an online platform designed to be a central hub for everyone interested in safe and sustainable by design. And the portal provides you with easy access to, for example, information, guidance, tools, and education material related to SSbD. The portal was developed based on input from stakeholders across Europe. So a survey was conducted within the SSbD community to identify gaps and needs in information, education and material, which helped building the knowledge sharing portal. And sorry. On the portal you can see different elements which I will explain on the next slide. So first of all, there is an element on introduction to SSBD, where you can find general information about SSBD and its background. Secondly, there's also an element related to the SSBD tools, where you can also find a link to the SSBD toolbox, and it gives some information on the toolbox itself, on its development, and extra information. And next up, there's also a element which introduces currently available information on case studies and practical applications of SSBD. There's also an element describing the test methods in SSBD, which will give information about SSBD and the test methods currently used. Furthermore, the knowledge sharing portal also has an element on SSBD and its links to legislation, which will give more information about that. And what's also really nice about the knowledge sharing portal is that there's a link to the element of education and training, which will link to the repository of learning and education material. And on this repository, people can find training and education material with relevance to SSBD. And on the left here, you can see a screenshot of the filters, which can be used to select materials you're interested in. Next up, there's also an element dedicated to the user community, which links to the SSBD discussion group at Parkopedia. And the Parkopedia group on SSBD, it tends to foster an open communication with stakeholders. So this group can be used to share information of general interest, to announce events on latest developments, and to pose individual questions related to SSBD to the SSBD group users. And finally, there's also an element with frequently asked questions related to SSBD, and there's a contact element with contact information, and where you can also find a link to a survey which is shared with people who can provide relevant information to keep the knowledge sharing portal up to date. So to wrap up this really short introduction, I hope this introduction has given you somewhat of a clear overview of the PARC SSbD knowledge sharing portal. I would like to encourage you all to take a look at the knowledge sharing portal yourself. You can see the link here on the slide, and the QR code will also link you to the portal. And well, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you will all enjoy the knowledge sharing portal and the rest of this toolbox workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Emma. So we'll now continue to the introduction to the alpha version of the PARC SSbD toolbox. I will share my screen again. As we already said, we had our first testing version last year, and after a year of testing feedback, we now introduce you the alpha version of the PARC toolbox. So we'll go with a very brief introduction here to the updates we have made, and then we will go with the live demonstration of the toolbox. So first of all, we have a new user interface. So basically, it's a new platform. The previous version, it was, as I said, the testing version, a demo version. So we focused more on right now we focus more on the user experience, and to provide a platform that is user-focused and user-friendly, but also provide the right functionalities for a platform like that. So we also updated the entry page of the toolbox. You can access it here by scanning the QR code. We have made a new entry page with more information about the toolbox. So we keep only information related to the framework and the toolbox, and then we transfer all the other information into the platform, as you can see here, and we will see later on through the live demonstration. And of course, we have new features and functionalities, and I will start with the tools and database library. So in the previous version, the testing version, we had this library on the entry page of the toolbox, but now we incorporate it into the platform as a library that the user can search tools and databases. I will proceed with the new feature, which is the project feature, where users now can structure their projects and assign tasks, as we will see later on. So this feature was not available in the previous version. And then we have the library of tools related to different types of new approach methodologies. Again, a new feature of the platform. It is a library that provides a long list of tools with important information for the user. We aim to enhance this to a module for a simulation of NAMS data. Then we also integrated new tool into the toolbox. So except for Integra and Vega tools, now we have also SSbD tools. So we're very happy that we collaborated with SSbD and provide us with access to their tools. So you see now that the TRA worker tool is available and the TRA consumer tool will be very soon available. We are making some final adjustments and will be available soon. And then we have an update version of the SSbD wizard. We will see a live walkthrough to the wizard. So here we provide a more interactive version than the previous one, which was a more informative one and static version. But of course, the aim is to make it as more dynamic as possible and interactive for the user. And finally, we have also an update version of the evaluation and scoring system where we have incorporated elements of MCDA thinking, but it's important to point out here that it's very preliminary and it's an ongoing process. So you will see more through the progress of the toolbox. So now we'll go to the live demonstration. If you access the URL that I shared with you to the chat, here is the entry page of the PARC SSbD toolbox with information about what the toolbox can provide. Our latest announcements are here. So now we have our latest announcement for the alpha version release. Here we have some important links. So we have a link to the guidebook of the toolbox. So you can click and you will direct to the new guidebook version. We also have a release note here, which describes actually our current release note for the current version of the toolbox. And also another important link is the link to the Parkopedia SSbD user community as Emma presented before. So I'm encouraging you all to be a member of this group where we are discussing different elements of the SSbD concept for tools, for data, for new updates. And then we have the timeline of the development of the PARC SSbD toolbox. So right now we are here in the release of the alpha version, and the aim is to have the beta version in 2027 and the final version with overall guidance in 2029. Of course, we have information relevant to the SSbD framework with different links to the different JRC reports that are available, and a very brief introduction to the stage gate innovation concept that PARC has adapted for the implementation of the PARC toolbox. Of course, you can contact us by clicking here, and also would like to show that you can access the toolbox by logging here or registering for an account. So I'd like to say here that for the users that have already registered to the previous version, you can access the platform with your credentials. And for those that are new users, you can register for an account. And of course, you can contact us for any technical support. So you can click here and send us an email, and we will provide you with details and support. So if I will log in, I will go to the main platform of the PARC SSbD toolbox. And as soon as you log into the platform, here you will see the dashboard. So what is the dashboard? We kept the structure of the previous platform, but we enhanced it. So the dashboard actually provides here the latest tasks that the users have run. So here you can see the name of the task, the tool that you have used, the specific action, which means the specific model in this case, the status of the task, the user, and of course also the date of the creation and also the date of update the specific task. And you can view the task by clicking here or edit the task respectively. Then we have the list of projects, which I will show you in a minute. Again, it's the same concept. You can see your latest projects here with all the relevant information, the participants of the project and the status, and you can go directly to each project by clicking here. And last but not least, we have also the list of assessments that are provided by the evaluation and scoring system. You can find all the latest runs here as well with the same concept. I would like here to highlight that if you go up, you can click here the quick actions button, and you can go directly to another element of the toolbox. It's a more an easier way to go, for example, and create a new SSBD project. We will see right now. But then we can also access its feature by clicking here to the main menu. On the top right, here is the menu, and you can see your profile with all the relevant settings. I will not go through it right now. And here again, this plus button is the same as quick actions. Now let's go to the tools and databases. So as I said, we created a living library of tools and databases that are relevant for the implementation of the SSBD framework. So with tools here, we mean not only models, but also platforms, methods, processing algorithms, all the relevant tools that can be used in order to perform the SSBD framework. And of course, the list of databases that are needed in order to perform this assessment, and mainly for an existing substance. So here we have the 62 tools right now. We have added new tools from the last time. We have also added tools for the fifth step of the framework. And as you can see here, here is the list with all the tools, and we have information regarding the objective of the tool, the accessibility, if it's free or commercial, the respective SSBD step that this tool can be applied to, the developer of its tool, the innovation stage that is applicable based on the mapping we have done in the previous years. So this is based on an exhaustive review that we have performed within the PARC project, and of course the application field. So it's a hazard assessment, it is structural similarity, it's risk assessment, etc. And by clicking here, of course, I would like also to mention that for the tools that are not yet functional integrated into the toolbox, you will see the sign which is inactive. But for example, for Integra, Vega, and Testatalk, you could see that are active tools, so you can use them directly through the platform. So if I click here, for example, and click View Tool, we will see more information of this tool. We will also see the applicability domain. So for example, for the Vega platform, we can see that it's applicable to organic substances. The output that this tool can provide, so the user can see here which is the output that the tool can provide, and then link it with a specific assessment that is running. A link to the user manual of the tool. By clicking here, you will be directed, of course, here to the Vega QSAR website. And for example, for the Vega tool, we have also added an important note because we know that the interpretation of QSAR results are more complex than running the tool itself. We have added here a guidebook that is developed within PARC that provides information regarding the assessment of the results of the Vega model, so you can access it here. But our aim is actually to integrate a guidance directly through the platform, so the user, by warnings and different indications, can actually evaluate the result of the QSAR models, for example. and the available actions, which means the available models that you can use through this tool. So, for example, Vega provides different user models for these different type of categories. And if I will click here, I will go and I will see that I will choose my model, which is for relevant for human toxicity prediction. Here is the name of the task. You can also add the compound name and, of course, the SMILES code, which is needed in order to run the model. The same goes for Integra tool, which is also available. So you can see here the available models for the Integra platform. So if I click here, for example, you will see the data exposure model of Integra. So all these forms have been updated. And what else? Also the SETOC TRA worker tool, which is here available. And you can access it by clicking here. The TRA consumer tool is not yet available, it will be very, very soon. And you can run it directly through the platform. And after you have added your input data, you can see also a summary of your input data here before you run the tool. So the same goes with databases. We have listed all the relevant databases, and I forgot to mention that we also have a search bar. So this goes mainly for the tools. So if, for example, you're looking for a tool that is your innovation project is right now at the second stage of innovation. So you will click, the first one. So you will click here and you will see all the relevant tools that are applicable to this stage of innovation. And then, for example, for stage 2, the same. The same for the SSBD step. So you will go here and you will choose the relevant SSBD step that you want to assess, and you can see the different tools that have been mapped to this step. Or you can search directly by searching, for example, I don't know, Vega, and you can see here the tool. The same goes for the databases. So then we have the tasks. It's a feature that we also had in the previous version. Here you can see all of your tasks. So by tasks, we mean this individual runs of each tool. So for example, if I click here to the TRA worker, I can see that here is my run with all the relevant information and the results of this tool. Exposure values and risk characterization of values in this case, and also have a summary of my inputs, information about the task, created by which user and submitted by which user. And then I would like to introduce now the features, the new feature, which is the project feature. Since SSBD is it's a complex concept and actually requires a lot of expertise and different people to work on it. And we're talking about an innovation project. We built this feature so the users can create a project by clicking here. And for example, I will now click a PARC project. The description of the task, new project, and then I can assign a task to this project. So I will assign that I want to assess, for example, human toxicity or carcinogenicity specifically. Carcinogenicity. Then I will choose the tool, which in this case it's Vega. So here we have added all the tools, even the inactive tools, but you can only assign tasks to the active tools. So as we are adding more tools, you will be able to add the additional tools. So we'll choose Vega, and then we will choose human toxicity, which is carcinogenicity included in this category, and we will add task. We can add more tasks, and then we can add participants. So by adding the participants here, we add the members of this project. So maybe it is a project within my organization, or maybe it's a project, a research project. So different organizations are involved. So I will select here, for example, my colleague Achilleas, and I will add users here, and I will submit the project. And here I can view that is a pending project because we have not yet run this task. But if I can click here, I will be directed to the specific task. So you can structure and organize your project within this feature, and of course will be elaborated with the tool pipelines. We will connect this with the scoring system. So all of this will be performed within the project. But of course, you have the option to run individual tools. For example, you can see here a complete task. So we have the project team and the tasks that have been assigned. You can edit also the task, or you can view the task. I will proceed now with the evaluation and scoring system. So as I said, we have updated this system. The previous one was based on the scoring system that it was an example by the JRC, but it was mentioned that it's not definitive. It was an example to aid the decision-making process. Yet this system that we have updated, again, it's not definitive. But we try to incorporate MCDA thinking into it. So now we're providing scores from 0 to 1. So we normalize the raw assessment results into this scale from 0 to 1 using some specific functions for each step. And then we followed the MCDA process for the aggregation within each step, and then the overall steps. So I would like to show you, for example, here I have made an example with the BPA case study we have performed last year. If I click here, you can see the name of the task that is finalized, and then the chemical name, the cast number, or any other information that you want to add. And for example, for step 1, you can view here that they have added the relevant information. They have a score of 0, which is the worst one, and the score of 1 is the best one. The same with all the other steps. For example, here for step 4, also we have the scores for each impact group level that this JRC report describes, and the overall step 4 score. And then we have the overall SSbD score, which is we have a 0 score to the 3 SSbD steps, and then sustainability we have the 0.42 score, but then we have prioritized again safety, so we have this 0 score. But we can also see a different example here. It's an imaginary example. For example, here for step 1, I have a 0.6 score. You can also see the different color coding. And then for the other steps, for example, for step 3, I have a 0.24 score, which is based on the RCR value that I have assigned. I forgot to mention. And then for the overall SSbD score, you can see that, for example, we have a 0.32 score, which is like a low score. We have the different rating into the guidebook because we have like a 0.6 score for hazard, the low score for step 3, a medium score for step 2, and a very, very low score for sustainability. And the same goes with if you want to enter a new task. For example, here I can see that if I want to again enter my results for step 1, it's the same structure as before. You can enter it here. We have the classification if it is an existing chemical and has already it is already classified. We also have this positive and negative if it is an in silico prediction or if it is from other studies available, but we want to enhance it as well, so to add to to distinguish the in silico predictions with, for example, experimental studies, in this case, because they have a different uncertainty. I will not stick into it more but due to the time constraints, and I will now go to the SSbD wizard. So we introduced the SSbD wizard last time, but as I said, it was very informative. It was not so interactive. So our aim was to provide a more interactive version. So if I click here, create a new, I have to enter the name of my current run. So I will add here PARC workshop and this example. And now the questions are starting. So it is like a decision tree of questions and answers. So is your chemical under development or already in the market? If I click under development, then will pop out the next question, which is at which innovation stage is your chemical under development? And here you can see your answers to each question. We have structured this based on the 5 innovation stages, and we have here information for each innovation stage. Let's say that I'm at the second innovation stage. I will choose here, and then it will say which step of the SSbD framework would you like to assess. I would like to mention here that we have not incorporated the fifth step of the framework yet, but it is in our plans. So now we have the 4 of the 5 SSbD steps. If I click, for example, step 1, then it will say after screening results of stage 1, what are the relevant hazard endpoints of the chemical? And here we have a warning to check for the reliability of the predictions, because here we're talking about in silico tools. So if I click, for example, to carcinogenicity, it will pop out the tools that can be used for this endpoint. And also you can see the tools here. So if I will click, for example, QSAR toolbox, it will direct it to the web page of the toolbox, of the QSAR toolbox. The aim is to actually link this to the different interfaces of the PARC toolbox, not to direct you to the web page of the tool, but to the interface of the tool that is included in the PARC toolbox. And the same with all the other steps, endpoints. If I continue, yes, I would like to access another SSbD step. So click yes, and I will go to, for example, step 2. And here's a question. I'm sorry. It's the question, does the substance have potential hazardous properties? If I have already performed step 1, then I'm okay, how do I decide the different hazard endpoints? So here we have identified, if I go again, we have identified the critical hazard endpoints. You can choose all of them if you want to assess all of them. And of course, it is based on your innovation goal and innovation project, because now we are talking about stage 2. So you can click more hazard endpoints, and you continue editing, and you can here continue more endpoints until you assess all of them. So it is an ongoing process and iterative process. So if I click continue, I was in step 2, I'm sorry. Yes, so does the substance have potential hazardous properties? If I have already performed the assessment and I know that it has, so the answer will be yes, or if no, or don't know, then I will go back to step 1 to assess them. Let's say that it doesn't have. Has the intended application of the chemical material been defined? So this is based also on the scoping analysis that JRC has introduced. So I will click yes. So as you can see here, all my answers are popping out on the right of the page of the window. So based on the intended application, what are the expected processes involved and uses during the production and processing phase? Because we're talking about step 2. So here is a recommendation to proceed with the process design, literature search, expert judgment, all of these steps. And for example, we have here available tools for process design, either stoichiometric calculations or some other chemical process modeling tools that you can access here. And we have indicated which of them are free or commercial in order to answer this. Or then it is even a literature search, you need to proceed with this search. Then if there are any risks related to the process, and then you can click and see the available tools we have identified. And if the exposure determinants can be defined in the operational conditions. If you cannot define, here we have provide you a suggestion that you can follow worst case scenario, apply default parameters and unfavorable conditions because we're talking about an early innovation stage, or search in DECA use months library. And of course, the scenario needs to be justified. If there are no, then here again, you can see that you can click the different sources that we have identified and what is the exposure potential to this chemical. For example, if I click here for inhalation and Delmar exposure, I can see that I can use the acetoctierate worker tool. And then we will proceed, for example, with environmental exposure, which is the same process. Let's say that it's yes. Can this hazard pose high risk to the environment? No. What is the maximum concentration of the chemical related to the environmental risk? And here it says that you can check the ECA guidance for this and available tools to use. For this derivation, it's the same process. Is the intended application of the chemical defined? Yes. And what is the volume of the chemical in the production and processing phase? And here we have also another indication that it is based on the respective market volume. Okay, here we have the potential environmental releases based on the potential emission pathways. So here we have also available tools that you can use. We have identified either you can estimate these releases using the default release factors or SPERGs, or from the OECD emission scenario documents, or you can use the hotspot scan tool. And then the expected physicochemical and environmental fate properties. So we'll not proceed due to time constraints, but I would like to summarize this concept that here we specify the tools that you can use in each SSBD step and innovation stage will help you identify the input data that you need in order to perform the step. And also we provide warnings and indications based on your answers. And of course, again, this is an ongoing process. Again, it's preliminary, so it requires more interaction for the user. But it is an update from the last version. And if I go here, I can see my complete runs and I can see my answers. So for example, here I can see all my answers. So they are saved and you can go back, and as we know, SSBD is an iterative process. You can go back and check your answer. You can edit it and define a new one. Then we'll proceed with the NAMS library. We already talked about it. It's a library of tools related to new approach methodologies. We have different types. It's in silico tools, platform, databases, R packages, processing algorithms. You can search using the name, the application field, the developer. For example, for you see AUTH, so you will see one of our tools here that we have developed, or you can go and type omics and will identify the different tools that can be used for omics analysis. With the relevant tool type, objective, and if I click here, you will be directed to the tool page. So we consider NAMS a very critical aspect of SSBD and of the PARC SSBD toolbox that will be elaborated during the development of the toolbox. And I will close with another feature, which is the teams feature. So we saw the projects. Now you can also create your team. You can go here and create team. And I will go create, for example, a PARC team. And the description is optional, and then you can search here the participants and add your teammates, which then we aim to link this with the projects. Yet it's not implemented, but it will be implemented. So for example, I will add here some of my colleagues. You can add as many as you want. And I can add users. And here I have my team. And you can see all of your teams here, and you can manage the team. So this was actually the alpha version of the PARC toolbox, and I would also like here to highlight before we go to the Q&A session that, as we said, it's really important for us to receive feedback from you, because you will be the future users of the platform. So this is an ongoing process under development, but we have opened it to all of you in order to follow this concurrent engineering and co-creation process. So here you can access the feedback form we have developed by clicking here. And you can provide feedback to us. So there are some questions after you have used the toolbox, how easy it was, if you find any feature that's difficult that the user understand, which features of the PARC toolbox do you find most useful. You can choose more than one. You can any technical issues, or you can rate your user experience, any other comments. If you're aware of any tool that can be included in the toolbox and it has not been included yet, or if you're interested in applying a case study using the PARC SSbD toolbox. But also, we have here a form for any of you that wants to integrate a tool into the PARC SSbD toolbox. And by integrating, we mean functional integrating. So we will have the tool as an active tool to the platform. So we have here information relevant to the tool integration form, the name of the tool, description, a URL to the tool if it is available, the owner of the tool, the type of the tool, the steps that can support this tool, and you can click more of them. And then 5 innovation stages that this tool can support. You can also check more than one. If an application programming interface is available in order to integrate it functionally, because it's important. But if it's not, of course, we can discuss other ways and the contact person of this form. So that was for me, and I really would like to thank you all for your attention, and we're open for questions.
Fotini, please check the Q&A section and answer.
Yes, thank you very, very much. So first of all, this question from Vendel. It's like the companies will enter all this sensitive information in a web-based tool, regardless of user access protection. Can the entire PARC toolbox be installed on company internal servers?
Okay, I can answer this one. Again, we've designed this as a process that is community-based. So one thing is to, as you said, release sensitive information, and that in a secure form. I get the point. So we don't believe it can be secure enough. That's essentially it. And one way for us to do that is to introduce tools that what I called previously federated analytics. I can spend about an hour and more to explain that, but I guess we don't have that time today. What this essentially means is that we have the tool that you see available. You have your data at home, and there's an agent, an AI agent, that goes to your data set, applies the tools. I don't see them, you don't see this process, but you get the results. Okay. That of course means normally an automated process. It can also mean a hybrid process where this agent talks with you. And so it's actually, again, the agent is gaining access, but the agent can do nothing with the data. The only thing it can do is give you the results. So essentially, we bring the tools to you without necessarily transferring, having a locally installed version of the toolbox. That's the current thinking. So as to allow this. The reason for this is that, as I said, this is supposed to be a live tool, that because I can easily imagine, and we all know that, for instance, NAMs and in silico tools and also omics analytics develop very fast. So what we have in the tool this year will probably be not out of date, but will be very much refreshed next year. So either we will keep on releasing new versions to all of you who would have the tool locally, or use a technique like what I just described. We're looking at all options, and thanks for the input, because that's exactly the kind of thinking we want to know. So there could be an option to install the PARC toolbox on a company internal server. There could be the option to have the blockchain, so you transfer data and when they're confidential. There could be the option of not transferring data, but having availability of the tools and of the results without ever your data leaving your server. That's essentially the idea.
Okay. Should I proceed to the next question?
Yeah, the values in the tool are all experimental or predicted. The ones in the tool are both experimental and or predicted. So it depends on the kind of tool that you're using and the kind of analysis you're doing. But our idea is to actually have this seamless integration. That's why we talked about seamless integration of the different tools and the different types of data, because that's really what you need. You need to be able to put together both experimental and validated data and predicted data to allow you to capture things that you don't have the experimental data for. Okay. Yeah, the presentation will be put on our website, and will be and also in a knowledge sharing platform. So it will be, and can be, of course, circulated to the members or to the participants in this workshop. The software right now is free of charge, and it is available on the internet. And we're a public-public partnership, so we don't plan to charge. I'm putting it like this. Now, I guess if a very sophisticated internal tool needs access rights, we've been even talking with the Commission about facilitating this. This good example is lifecycle analysis, lifecycle databases, which usually are under contract. But we're looking at the Commission to see whether we can broker either very low prices or some other kind of scheme to allow people to have access to them. But that's an ongoing discussion. But for now, I mean, what you saw is completely free, and we don't plan to charge anything. I think you agree, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Yes.
Okay. When a substance can be used in multiple applications, what's the proposed approach to use the SSBD widget? So if you have one substance, but you have different ways of using it for the need, that's for you.
Yes. So then we have a question of if it is multiple or if it is a single application. But then as we proceed to the different innovation stages, we specify that is one application. But of course, we can also, because we now provided a more generic version, we start from generic and then we will build more specific questions and target to, for example, different applications and sectors. Then you can also see different examples. But now we have also not only differentiate between multiple and single application. If it is multiple applications, then we ask you to provide an overview of the applications that this substance can be used.
Yeah. Okay. From vendor, he's asking whether he's saying that I'm surprised that tools have a fixed allocation to innovation stages, and the usefulness of tools will depend on the specific innovation, which is true. Would it be possible to instead allocate tools to simplified, intermediate, or full SSBD? Okay, that's a very useful remark, because we are looking at ways to go through, what we call simplified, intermediate, and full SSBD. We haven't done it yet because we are in the process of putting everything that you need to do. You realize if you want to do a simplified version, you need to have the full version available to be able to do it properly simplified. Otherwise, you just do a simple version that and cut corners, and you never do the full-blown scheme. So we are doing the build up, if you want, of the tool space to allow for this full-blown analysis. But then we are going to be looking at ways to simplify things. I think this is very a very important remark, and thanks a lot. I think we will be going in this direction, but it's a question of how exactly we'll be doing that. So these are the Q&A that I see.
We have some new questions.
Excellent.
It's on the top.
You're right. Right. Yes, we are using. So the question from I'm just as they reading, yeah. So whether we're using ontologies or other structural formatting schemes to model the data that's under the toolbox, we are actually, and in this case, we are using a lot of the work on data ontologies developed in PARC, anyways, and at some point this will be indeed published because it is important for everybody to know what the type of data, the format, how they interact can actually be done so that people can have an easy way of accessing. We're also looking at ways of transforming the data into the right format and class when you bring them, to the toolbox, so that you don't have to do the extra work. But this is additional discussion with the IT development people. It's a question of, what is practically feasible at the same time. But yes, we will be publishing an ontology paper on the data ontologies that are foreseen right now. Yeah, long-term sustainability, good point. We have already said that we have resources for at least 5 to 7 years after the end of the project. So we're talking about 10 years from now, more or less. So that can be achieved. We are discussing about different ways of doing it in different with different mechanisms. That's part of the sustainability process of PARC, and but for sure right now we are foreseeing, at least within the SSbD team, AUTH and others, that we will have the resources to support the operation of this service for at least 10 years from now. From yours, whether a concrete release on the post, well, that's essentially the same thing, right? We are discussing it, and that's part of the PARC quote unquote exit strategy. We're discussing it, Yoss. That's indeed part of it. And we have some very, I would say, revolutionary ideas about that, but in a creative disruption mode, but you'll hear from that. So yes, we want to include TTC and theoretical toxicity assessment based on structure. That's part of the job, and we are looking at the TTC concept and how we can implement specific tools for that. The idea is to be able to indeed distinguish them from experimental data with qualifiers, and then assign the respective quote-unquote uncertainty levels with regard to these estimates as well. But our goal is not to say you're using one or the other method. Our goal is to say we're using the best possible combination even of data or of tools or methods to get to the best possible outcome on safety. In this case, you're talking about safety assessment, the same thing for sustainability. But make this functional for others, for everybody. So that's essentially the idea. But TTC is involved. It will be involved, actually. It's not shown now, but it is part of the development. And here again, by the way, AI and TTC is very useful in the sense we're even working on separate sub-projects on this to see how it can be operational and then implement into the overall pipeline.
I think we have the last question.
I don't see my screen. Just a minute. Yeah. Good point. So I said, indeed, Lucia, I said that I wanted us to integrate other tools that are being developed outside PARC into this toolbox. That was the original thinking, that this is an umbrella toolbox and it can actually act as a integrator of all these tools as a community resource. That was the design, and this is what we are quote unquote paid for. Okay. Whether we could actually integrate this into external SSBD platforms, that is interesting, more protocol application specific. I think we need to talk about it. I wouldn't be, again, I really genuinely want to personally, and I would have a discussion also with Jacob Esther from IBM. We all, all the eyes in this. We really want to promote sustainable innovation in Europe, safe and sustainable innovation in European industry, and we want to find the best possible way. So that is, I'm not stuck with the original options, but the original design is to bring things in, also to make this in a way more widely usable and reduce the accessibility thresholds, if you want, where people have to really spend more time to learn about something. It's a question to see what is more operational, whether we can modify this resource and bring in additional tools or even combination of tools. You mentioned the word platforms that are more sector specific. That's fine. If we have additional tools to be integrated and new pipelines to create, that's easy, quote unquote easy. I mean, it's part of our thinking, but it is also important to hear what you're saying, see whether it makes more sense to combine with an external tool as well. Let's look at that. I'm not negative. Lucia, I get you. The generalization Lucia is saying that risk assessment and efficiency in use is very product and application specific, and it is challenging to generalize. Good point. I just challenge you now back, Okay, so you're an industrial innovator, you want to create new products, and you want to make sure that this kind of thing is actually gaining acceptance also in the regulatory domain, because at the end of the day, you want to demonstrate that you have thought about safety and sustainability and that your end result is definitely safe and also abides by all the different sustainability strategies in the EU. That will help you in the marketplace. If you want to do that, you want to be able to talk to regulators or risk assessors, let's say, and with tools that they can understand. I'm not saying they can understand this because that's complicated, but they can understand, if we explain well enough, one platform, one toolbox. I doubt that they can understand 10 different platforms from different sectors because they don't have the time, not because they can't, because they don't have the time. So in a way, it's a question of practical operational ability of the approach to allow not just industrial actors in the company to work, but also the people outside to understand what you're doing using different tools. And that is the beauty of creating an integrated resource. And that's why we call it a community resource and an umbrella to allow for this applicability. But again, I'm completely open to see whether other options are equally viable or even better. So no problem in discussing this. And the last point by Lucia we're talking about this is that application-specific SSBD platforms run by dedicated entities, not industry, with predictive computational tools to avoid regrettable substitution in early TRLs, early innovation. Yeah, but because there is no integrative resource, let's be honest about it. It is what we are used to do. We're used to go to a consultant, pay for his or her services, get the result, move on with our work. And what I'm offering here, what the Commission is offering, because we are paying it from public budgets, member states and Commission together, is a resource for the community. And here you say, I'm not only talking about industry, but also about risk assessment and regulators, and that's the beauty of it. Bringing in all the firepower of the work of European experts on all the different aspects, detailed aspects of SSBD, into an operational toolbox that makes it operational the framework. I would imagine this would be, of course, a change of paradigm in work. You don't go to a consultant. You actually maybe hire a consultant to run the tool, but we are trying to make the tool as easy as possible as well. So you don't have to really go to the consultant, pay for the extra money to, because of the tools that the consultant has available and has to maintain, because we are doing it for you. And so let's think about it. It may be interesting for you to consider the community, taking the community resource. It's like going to, in the US, they have community pools and there is also private pools. Community pools are good for everybody. Private, if you have the money, you can also have your private pool, no problem. Any other question?
Dennis, I would like to comment on something. If
please. Yes, George. Yes.
Okay, so I would like to make two clarifications in two questions that have been added in the Q&A. The first one is directed towards Christina's question regarding the software. And apparently, I would like to make this very clear to everyone that the SSBD toolbox is, of course, free, and it is available in our platform. In our webpage, and we encourage you to actually register for an account and try it out. This is the main reason we are currently releasing this alpha version, because we want you to use the platform. We want you to create accounts and test it and come back to us with feedback that will help us improve it further and correct any bugs or any other discrepancies that you find while using it. Now, the second question, which I also found very interesting, was from Wendell, who asked whether the SSBD toolbox will be able to be installed, for example, on a company server. So this is something that we have really thought of carefully while developing the toolbox. So it is worth mentioning that the way the toolbox is developed actually helps that very much because a company could or any stakeholder that wishes to host the platform could in the future actually receive parts of the toolbox and essentially install their own version in their own server. And when I say that, I also mean that they will be able to choose specific tools that they will be able to integrate. So, for example, if we end up developing this platform with maybe 20 or 25 or 30 tools, and you have a company that actually wants to use maybe 10 of them, it will be possible to actually receive the user interface, the backend of the toolbox, and then receive the specific tools that they want to use and actually launch the platform with the tools of their choice in their own server. So we are very, this is essentially scalable, and we provide this feature to anyone, or let me put it this way, we will be providing this feature when we have the full release to anyone who wants to actually host this platform in their own servers.
Great. More questions? What do you mean?
No.
No, but you have to guide us.
We need to close the meeting yet. So I would like also to thank very much Saurati, Petrik, George, and Carlos for their help to build this platform. and of course all the other people involved, but especially to them.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thanks a lot for the meeting. Thanks everybody for your time. We hope that this was useful and that you get to use it. Jacob, please come.
I was there all the time. I was listening with very much interest, and I really applaud you all for a very nice workshop and giving great insights into what this toolbox already is, but also insights to what it will be in the future. So thank you very much. And again, reiterating, please everybody start using it and get all your experiences to us so we can learn and build further on this beautiful initiative. So thank you very much.
What you just saw, I just want to add that what you just saw, Jacob, here, is actually the truth. This thing is not done by one or two people. It's done by really a large number of people who are behind the scene in this case, but who really are the ones who have done the work. And usually, as you can always imagine, I usually just talk about it. I don't do the work. So it's going to be me and the others who are doing it.
Yes.
So, and Jacob confirms that, which I love. All right, great. What we need from you is to use it, is to register and try to use it. Tell us what you want. Tell us if you need data, and if you want to look at how we can support you in that, and give us feedback. That's really what we need, and in order to make this really a community resource. And as George said, we have really all the options open in making this useful for everybody, and it can be local, can be open to others and combined. It's a question of for us to what is the best way of promoting sustainable innovation, as I said, in Europe. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.